Your regrets weren't wasted. They were just waiting for ignition. There is a warehouse in your mind. It sits at the edge of your memory, beyond the noise, beneath the surface where the conscious rarely travels. Most people never go there willingly. They seal the doors, chain them shut, throw away the key and pretend it doesn't exist. But you're not most people. You know something the world has forgotten, that your pain wasn't pointless, that your regret isn't some parasite feeding on your soul. It stored energy. And that warehouse? It's not a tomb. It's a refinery, lined wall to wall with barrels, each one representing a choice you didn't make, a version of you that gave up, a moment you can't take back. You think you're haunted, but you're not. You're stocked, ready to burn, ready to unleash power, but only if you stop being afraid of your own fire. Everyone tells you to let go of the past. But what if letting go is the lie? What if letting go is a sedative, designed to keep you numb, complacent, obedient? See, there's another path. The path of the few. The path of those who don't bury the past. They weaponize it. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by facing. You heal by turning around, walking into that dark warehouse, and striking a match. One flame. That's all it takes. One flame of willpower, courage, or rage. And the barrels start burning. Not to destroy you, but to move you. You've been lied to about your regret. They told you it's shameful, that it's weakness, that it's something to hide under smiles and productivity. But here's the truth. Regret is a signal flare from your soul. It means you were meant for more. It means you still care. It means the fire hasn't gone out. It's just been redirected, smothered, contained. And that means you still have fuel. Let me say that again. If you can feel regret, you still have energy left in the tank. You still have something to use. The pain you're trying to forget is the exact thing you need to remember to rise. Because power doesn't come from ease. It comes from pressure, from heat, from combustion, from dragging your old shame into the daylight and saying, I'm not hiding you anymore. I'm using you. This is your forge now. Welcome to the refinery. This is where warriors are built, not by pretending to be clean, but by learning to burn what others fear. Every failure is a drum. Every betrayal is kindling. Every wasted year is gasoline. And most people, they let it rot. They let it collect dust. They walk around the world, acting like ghosts, burdened by what they won't face, smiling like nothing's wrong. But you're not smiling. You're smoldering. You're one spark away from setting the entire illusion ablaze. There are two paths, only two. Path one, you keep running. You try to outrun the shadow. You bury the memories. You drown them in fake positivity, mindless distractions, and shallow praise. You keep lying to yourself until your soul becomes a landfill of what could have beens. Path two, you stop. You turn around. You walk into the fire, and you use every last drop of regret as a weapon. You become dangerous again. Not because you're perfect, but because you've owned your imperfections so completely that nothing can be used against you. Your past, you already burned it. Your shame, already converted into jet fuel. Your failures, already forged into armor. You're no longer vulnerable. You're volatile. Let me give it to you straight. Every time you think about the one that got away, every time you remember the dream you sabotaged, every time the memory creeps in of who you used to be, don't look away. Lean in, because that's fuel. That's heat. That's the ache that wakes your muscles up. That's the crack in the soul where the light of discipline pours through. You don't suppress it. You transmute it. You go back to that version of yourself that messed up. You sit with them, and you make a vow. This won't be wasted. You will not have suffered for nothing. I will make your pain worth it. And you get up, and you burn. This is the weapon the world doesn't understand. Most people think strength is about smiles and success stories, about clean slates and fresh starts. They forget that a phoenix doesn't rise from comfort. It rises from ashes. And the only way to create those ashes is to burn the old oil. You take every haunting regret and feed it into your furnace. You grind. You train. You build. You outwork your own past, until the same people who thought you'd never recover now wonder how you're even standing, until your silence starts to echo louder than their noise, until your presence speaks one message: I used my pain. What did you do with yours? Let them call you obsessed. Let them call you cold. Let them say you're intense. They're still dragging their oil drums behind them, still pretending they're light, still playing victim to their own history. But you turned yours into fire, into movement, into momentum. What do you want your legacy to be? The one who spent a lifetime avoiding pain, or the one who converted it into power? Because listen carefully, the greatest engines don't run on sunshine. They run on pressure. They run on heat. They run on everything the world fears. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for clarity. You stop asking for closure. You stop needing apologies. You burn. So now the choice is yours. You can stay the same. Keep storing your failures in silence. Keep being held hostage by your own history. Or you can become your own ignition source and rebuild yourself with every drop of pain you used to be afraid of. Every regret you feel is untapped potential. Every shame you carry is rocket fuel waiting to be pressurized. All you have to do is light the match. Burn the old oil. Strategy 1. Inventory the wreckage. Before you can burn your past for fuel, you must first walk through the wreckage and name what still smolders. This is the strategy most people skip because it's uncomfortable, painful, raw, but necessary. You cannot use what you have not faced. You cannot burn what you have not claimed. And most importantly, you cannot transform what you still pretend never happened. Regret has weight. And like any fuel, it has to be handled correctly. If it sits in the dark too long, it leaks. It contaminates your confidence. It eats away at your decisions like rust under steel. But when you finally open the doors and take inventory, you shift from victim to engineer. You stop letting your pain haunt you, and you start using it like an architect uses blueprints. Step 1. Go there, deliberately. You're not allowed to do this halfway. This isn't casual reflection. This is full-scale excavation. You set time aside. You find silence. And you go there. To the scenes that still ache. The years you wasted. The people you lost. The mistakes that made you question who you were. You enter the warehouse of your subconscious, like a soldier entering a battleground. Not to be swallowed by it, but to survey it with clarity and control. You say, this is where I gave up on myself. This is where I betrayed my potential. This is where I ran instead of standing tall. No excuses, no filters, just brutal honesty. Because clarity is power, and power begins with calling things what they are. Step 2. Name the fuel. Every regret contains a lesson and an energy signature, but you must label it before you can use it. Ask, what specific moment still haunts me? What did I lose in that moment? Time, dignity, momentum, trust. What emotion is tied to that loss? Anger, shame, guilt, grief. Now go further. What strength could be extracted from it? If you were humiliated publicly, then you now know how to master humility and composure. If you failed when you were needed most, then you now carry the fire of redemption. If you let someone down, then you now have the capacity to become someone no one else has to doubt again. You don't suppress, you extract. You pull each oil drum off the shelf and mark it clearly. Fuel, guilt, ignition point, action, fuel, shame, ignition point, discipline, fuel, betrayal, ignition point, relentless loyalty. Step 3, document the inventory. This is not a mental exercise only. You write it out. Create a page in your notebook titled The Vault. This is not a place of weakness. It is your arsenal. You list each memory you've unearthed with the following format. Regret, the event or mistake. Loss, what it cost you. Emotion, what you still feel about it. Power, what lesson or fire it contains. How I will use it. Specific actions you will fuel with it. Example, regret, letting my health collapse in my 20s. Loss, physical vitality, confidence, and time. Emotion, shame. Power, discipline and a daily training ethic. How I will use it. Wake at 5 a.m. daily and train harder than I ever did before. You do this not because you're broken, but because you're building something unbreakable. Step 4. Stop apologizing for it. This is where the shift happens. You stop apologizing for the wreckage. You stop hiding it like a stain on your soul. You stop viewing it as a disqualifier. It's not your downfall anymore. It's your origin story. The world trains you to hide your darkest moments. But what they don't realize is, your fuel is darker than theirs. Your fire burns hotter because you've seen hell and refuse to stay. So you speak of your past not with pity, but with power. Not as a victim, but as a refined force. You use it to remind yourself what you will never return to, and what kind of weapon you're sculpting from that pain. This mindset is rare. It's not trendy. It's not positive vibes. It's warrior clarity. Step 5. Set the warehouse ablaze, ritually. Now that you've documented, labeled, and reclaimed your regret, you assign it a purpose. This is not symbolic. It is tactical. You use specific memories as triggers to ignite specific habits. Example, every time I think of what I didn't say to my father before he died, I will push harder in my business to create legacy. Every time I remember that job I got fired from, I will invest 30 more minutes into sharpening my skills. Every time I recall the person I failed, I will double my output today in their honor. You tie your past to your mission. No more drifting. No more processing endlessly. The processing is done. Now it becomes propulsion. Every moment of weakness gets converted into a moment of power. Every scar becomes a circuit. Every regret becomes rocket fuel. Summary of Strategy 1. Inventory the wreckage. Stop hiding. Open the vault. Confront the exact memory. Don't flinch. Label the loss, the emotion, and the power inside it. Write it down. Create a personal fuel log. Assign rituals to each regret. Use them to activate action. And remember, you are not the aftermath of your pain. You are the alchemist who distills that pain into high-octane fire. Inventory your wreckage, because that's not your past in those barrels. That's your next engine, waiting to be lit. Strategy 2. Transmute emotion into motion. Theme: pain is pressure. Regret is stored energy. If you don't move it, it devours you. But if you direct it, you become unstoppable. Purpose: to turn emotional weight into kinetic force through strategic action and discipline. There is a moment when regret hits you, and everything inside clenches. Your breathing gets shallow. Your chest tightens. You remember what you could have been, what you should have done, and for a second, it feels like drowning in your own memory. This is where most people break. They grab their phone, they scroll, they distract, they sedate. But warriors, they move. Because regret is not a signal to collapse. It's a signal to act. The law of emotional kinetics. Every emotion has mass. Every feeling has frequency. And every regret contains a charge. If you leave that charge stagnant, it calcifies. It becomes self-loathing. It becomes paralysis. It becomes spiritual erosion, where you slowly forget what it feels like to be alive. But the moment you move, the moment you force action through the pain, you redirect that emotional current into something productive, even weaponized. You don't sit with your regret, hoping it fades. You alchemize it by doing something with it. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It's mechanical transmutation. You're taking one form of energy, emotional pressure, and forcing it into another. Physical movement, focused execution, raw output. Step 1. Build a regret response reflex. Most people react emotionally to regret. You will now train yourself to respond physically. From this moment on, whenever regret hits you, whether it's a memory, a name, a place, a smell, you will anchor that moment to deliberate action. Example: you remember the time you let someone down? Drop and do 50 push-ups. You think about the opportunity you sabotaged? Open your laptop and put in 30 minutes of deep, focused work. No distractions. You feel the sting of wasted years. You go for a cold shower, a brutal workout, a disciplined routine, something to discharge the energy immediately. Why? Because you are conditioning your nervous system to stop freezing and start executing. You're not repressing emotion. You're not ignoring it. You're forcing it into motion. You're forging new synapses that say, every time I hurt, I build. Step 2. Create a motion ritual. This is about more than random activity. This is about ritualizing your movement. Create a routine that becomes your sacred response to regret. A fire escape plan for your darkest moments. Because those moments will come. And when they do, you need more than motivation. You need systems. For example, morning regret ritual. Wake at 5 a.m. No phone. Stretch. 10 minutes journaling your regrets. Then straight into a 45-minute grind. Workout, creative focus, mission planning. Evening cleanse ritual. 20 minutes reflection. Write down what hit you hardest today. Then burn 100 calories for every regret that surfaced. Light a candle. Close the day in strength. Why do this? Because regret thrives in silence and stagnation. Rituals create predictable counterattacks. They give structure to chaos. And warriors thrive in structure. Step 3. Use the physical to master the mental. Understand this truth. You are not thinking your way out of regret. You are training your way through it. The body leads the mind, not the other way around. When you move powerfully, when you train, lift, sweat, build, your mind follows. It begins to associate those movements with control, stability, and identity. You don't need a therapist to tell you who you are. You already know. You are the one who moves through fire. You are the one who answers emotion with execution. So when regret whispers, "You failed," you reply, not with words, but with movement. You get up, you go harder, and your sweat becomes your rebuttal. Step 5. Rewire identity. Through repetition. Every time you convert pain into motion, you're doing more than just discharging energy. You are building a new self-image. You are becoming the kind of person who doesn't hide from discomfort, but charges it head-on. And here's the real secret. Motion builds momentum, and momentum builds identity. The more consistently you act in defiance of your regret, the more you see yourself as someone unbreakable, someone who doesn't just cope, but converts, someone who doesn't just survive, but executes, someone who doesn't get weaker with shame, but stronger with it. The world runs on comfort. You run on combustion. And each day you build this pattern, your old self dies, and something ferocious replaces it. Summary of strategy 2. Transmute emotion into motion. Pain is power waiting to be redirected. Condition yourself to act every time regret strikes. Ritualize your response. Don't leave it to chance. Measure your energy conversion to strengthen the pattern. Train so consistently that you rewire your identity through action. You are not here to sit in your regret. You are not here to heal slowly in silence. You are here to move violently through your past. Regret was never your cage. It was your combustion chamber. And now that you know what to do with it, move before it devours you. Or worse, turns you into one of them. The ones who froze forever. But that's not you. You're the one who builds while it burns. And you're just getting started. Strategy 3. Reframe the narrative. Theme. Regret doesn't break you. It shapes you. But only if you take control of the story. Purpose. To change the internal meaning of your past by rewriting your identity through conscious reinterpretation. Regret is more than a feeling. It's a story you've been telling yourself on repeat. A script that plays silently in the background of your mind. Rewriting your self-worth. Whispering lies about who you are and who you'll always be. Every time that old memory surfaces, every time you feel the sting of shame or guilt, that's your subconscious narrator trying to tell you that what happened still defines you. But here's the truth. The pain is real. The failure is real. But the meaning you've given it? That's optional. You don't need to erase the past. You need to reframe it. You don't need a new history. You need a new perspective. And that begins now. Step 1. Confront the default story. Every regret is attached to a narrative, usually one you didn't choose. It's the version that says you're a failure, you're unworthy, you're too far gone. You've told it to yourself so many times, you stopped questioning if it was even true. So pause. Ask yourself, what am I actually telling myself about this regret? Is it that I missed my only chance? That I'll never forgive myself? That I'm not deserving of redemption? You can't rewrite a story you haven't read. You need to hear it clearly before you tear it apart. You have to expose the lie before you can replace it with truth. Step 2. Break the illusion of finality. Regret feeds on the illusion that the past is a fixed sentence, unchangeable, permanent, all-defining. But the past is not a prison, it's a foundation, and foundations can be rebuilt. That decision you regret, it doesn't mean you're cursed. It means you're called to evolve. That moment where you failed, it's not the last word in your story. It's the first spark of your transformation. You are not frozen in time. You are fluid, evolving, becoming. And every regret is just raw material, waiting to be sculpted into strength. You don't have to forget the pain. You just need to stop letting it speak louder than your will. Step 3. Reclaim the role of the hero. Most people live their lives as victims in their own story. They narrate from the bottom of the pit, blaming life, fate, or even themselves with no way out. But you are not a victim. You're the author. And authors can rewrite. They can burn chapters. They can take the darkest plot twist and turn it into the reason the hero rises. That's who you are now. The one who rises because of the fall. The one who gains clarity because of the mistake. The one who becomes unshakable because of what you once allowed to shake you. You must stop speaking of your regret like a scarlet letter and start speaking of it like your origin story. Not, this ruined me, but this refined me. Not, I lost everything, but I learned what truly matters. Not, I became nothing, but I became dangerous. Step 4. Rewrite the timeline with new meaning. Think back to the most painful moments, the events that still make your stomach twist. Don't run from them. Lean in, own them, and ask, what strength did this experience force me to develop? What wisdom did I gain that I never would have earned in comfort? Who have I become because of this, that I never could have become otherwise? That's the real story. You didn't survive that pain to stay bitter. You survived it to become built, more resilient, more disciplined, more alert, more willing to live with purpose and intention, because now you know what happens when you don't. Those moments weren't curses. They were courses, intensive lessons on what kind of force you were meant to become. Step 5. Speak the new story until it becomes law. Once you've rewritten the narrative in your mind, you must now speak it into existence. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every day. Declare who you are, based on what you've earned through fire. Say it when you wake up. Say it when doubt tries to creep in. Say it when the past knocks at your door. Speak. I am not my mistake. I am the one who rose from it. I don't run from my history. I build with it. Every regret became my reason to rise. I do not carry shame. I carry proof that I survived what should have destroyed me. This is my story, and I write the ending. Why say it out loud? Because your mind listens. Because your subconscious needs clarity, repetition, and authority to rewrite its default settings. Because if you don't speak your story, someone else, your past, your regret, your weakness, will. And that's no longer acceptable. Summary of Strategy 3. Reframe the narrative. You were never meant to stay buried beneath your shame. You were never meant to sit in silence while your old story whispers lies into your mind. You were meant to rise, to take the same memories that haunted you and forge a new identity with them. To say, this did not end me. It launched me. You don't need to change the facts. You just need to change the frame. And once you do, you'll stop seeing regret as a wound and start seeing it as the ink you use to write your legend. Take the pen back, burn the old chapter, and write a story worth bleeding for. Strategy 4. Weaponize the reminders. Theme. Every trigger is an invitation to spiral into weakness or to strike with precision. Purpose. To consciously anchor your regrets to productive action, transforming emotional triggers into tools of relentless discipline. Most people fear the flashbacks. They do everything they can to avoid them. Block them out. Distract themselves. Medicate. Scroll. smile through the ache. But those memories, those sharp little stings that hit you in the gut, out of nowhere, they're not punishments. They're reminders. Reminders of a promise you broke, a moment you ran instead of stood, a version of you that betrayed your own potential. You feel them in places, in songs, in certain smells, in silence. And most treat them like poison. But you're not most. You're a weapon in the making. And it's time to take every painful reminder, every emotional landmine, and forge them into triggers for action. Because what used to control you now becomes your command sequence. Step 1. Stop running from the triggers. Let's get something straight. You can't outrun a ghost that lives inside you. You can't move on from a past you've never converted. Every time a painful reminder resurfaces, you have two choices. Numb it. Name it. The world will tell you to let it go. They'll say it's unhealthy to think about the past. But warriors understand something deeper. You can't kill what you won't confront. And what you avoid owns you. So step 1 is brutal honesty. You face the memories. You welcome them when they knock. Not with fear, but with function. You stop seeing these moments as signs of failure and start seeing them as fueling stations. Step 2. Assign every reminder a ritual. Here's where the transmutation begins. You choose to link every painful memory to a specific act of discipline or creation. That moment of betrayal? Use it as a trigger to show up harder for your own values. Every time it resurfaces, you write, you train, you build. The job you lost? Every time it stings, you invest in your skills, you study, you level up, you outwork your old version. That person you disappointed? Let every reminder push you to hold yourself to a higher standard. Because now you know the cost of letting your word rot. This is how warriors rewire the mind. Not with positivity, not with denial, but with deliberate ritual. It's Pavlovian conditioning, turned inward. You're training yourself like a machine. So the moment a memory surfaces, your body knows what to do. Action. Immediately. No hesitation. Step 3. Track the echoes of your pain. Don't treat this like guesswork. Treat it like data. Begin mapping out where and when the triggers show up. What time of day do they hit you the hardest? What environments awaken them? Which people or topics bring them up? Don't avoid the pattern. Study it. Because every reminder has a rhythm. And once you see the rhythm, you can ride it. Instead of being caught off guard, you prepare. You build discipline around your weak points, not in spite of them. If certain hours feel darker, those are now your power hours. If a memory hits hardest after talking to someone, build a counter routine right after. If a song breaks you, make it your war anthem. Train with it. Bleed with it. Make it yours. You're not just reacting anymore. You're turning ambushes into orders. Step 4. Create symbols of the memory and own them. The world teaches you to bury shame. You're going to build monuments to it, not out of masochism, out of mastery. Take that most painful regret and anchor it in your environment. Write a phrase, draw a mark, carry a token, tattoo a word, wear a piece of metal, build something tangible, something you see every day to remind you. This used to control me. Now it drives me. This isn't sentimental. This is strategic psychology. You're embedding the pain into your ritual space. Where others hide their wounds, you display yours like trophies. Why? Because warriors don't pretend they've never bled. They show the scars that earned their strength. Every time you look at that symbol, You remember, that thing that once weakened me, it is now a part of my edge. Step 5. Reinforce with repetition until it's automatic. Once the trigger action link is made, you repeat it until it becomes law. And at first, it will feel strange. The memory hits, and instead of spiraling, you move. But the brain will resist. You must persist. Over time, the neural pathways shift. The pain rewires itself. Your mind begins to associate the sting not with collapse, but with power. Not with shame, but with sharpening. Eventually, the reminders will still come, but they won't hurt the same. They'll feel like instructions, like orders from a higher version of you, echoing through time saying, "Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who you were. Don't forget what you promised." And instead of freezing, you execute. Summary of Strategy 4. Weaponize the reminders. Face the triggers. They are not curses. They are calls to action. Assign each reminder a physical, measurable ritual. Track their patterns and build structure around them. Create symbols that anchor your regret to your new strength. Repeat the cycle until your reflex is power, not paralysis. Because this is how warriors are built, not by avoiding the dark, but by fighting in it. Not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by turning every whisper of it into a war cry. You don't run from your reminders anymore. You turn around, you look them in the eye, and you say, "Thank you for showing up. Now get behind me. We've got work to do." And you move forward with fire in your veins, because the past no longer punishes you. It pushes you, relentlessly. Strategy 5. Convert pain into purpose. Theme. When your regret stops being about you and starts being about what you can build with it, you become untouchable. Purpose. To take the final step in the transformation of regret, not just into strength or discipline, but into mission. This is where you stop surviving and start serving. Regret is selfish until it's sacrificed. That may sound harsh, but here's what it means. When all you do is think about how badly you messed up, how much you lost, how different your life could have been, you're still centered on yourself. And while that might feel like healing, it's actually a trap. A trap that keeps you circling the drain, spinning in self-loathing, replaying the same scenes without ever exiting the loop. You have to step outside that loop. You have to rise above the noise in your head and ask one brutal, transformative question. What was all this pain for? Because if your regret remains meaningless, it remains your master. But when you take that pain and assign it a mission, you become unstoppable. You become dangerous. Because now, your life has weight. Now, your suffering becomes strategy. Now, you walk with purpose that can't be stolen. Step 1. See yourself as a conduit, not a victim. Pain lies to you. It tells you that you're broken. It tells you that your story ends with the moment you regret most. But what if that regret wasn't the end? What if it was the transfer point, where the fire that consumed you was recycled into fuel for others? What if you're not a failure? What if you're a messenger? Not the perfect one, not the polished one, the forged one, the one who knows the terrain of pain, the one who's walked through fire barefoot and came back with maps for others still burning. You're not meant to just carry your regret. You're meant to convert it into contribution. And that requires you to shift focus from what happened to you to what you can now build for others. Step 2. Find the pattern in your pain. Every regret has a specific shape. A message, a lesson, a scar with a fingerprint. Your job is to extract the theme from your suffering. Ask yourself, what have I learned that most people will never understand unless they fall like I did? What insight has my pain carved into me that could spare someone else the same wound? What injustice do I now feel called to correct, simply because I was once on the wrong side of it? This is not about trying to be a guru. This is about clarity of mission. You might discover your regret around addiction has made you passionate about helping others find discipline. Or your broken relationships have made you a defender of truth and loyalty. Or the dream you sabotaged has awakened in you a fire to help others protect their potential before it's too late. The point isn't to find a job. The point is to find your edge, your burden, the one thing you refuse to let stay meaningless. That's the root of your purpose. Step 3. Create a system of contribution. This is where purpose becomes real. You don't stop at personal reflection. You build something with it. Contribution doesn't have to be grandiose. It just has to be intentional. Start a conversation. Create content. Write a manifesto. Mentor one person. Build a tool. Start a movement. Train others. Live in a way that demonstrates the lesson your regret taught you. You don't even need permission. You just need conviction. Because here's the paradox. Your deepest regret may become your greatest qualification. The thing you thought disqualified you from greatness might be the exact reason you were called to lead. Because while others still run from their pain, you've turned yours into a platform. And now, your life becomes more than healing. It becomes help. That's how warriors are made. Not by surviving, by building, relentlessly, publicly, and without shame. Step 4. Let purpose govern your decisions. Once you've connected your pain to a mission, your compass changes. You stop chasing comfort. You stop choosing what's easiest. You stop caring about superficial applause. Because now, you have a code, a standard, a why that makes weakness intolerable. Every action you take must answer one question. Does this align with my purpose or distract from it? And when the answer is distract, you cut it, mercilessly. You build your schedule, your habits, your identity around the mission. If your purpose is to inspire, you wake up like someone who inspires. If your purpose is to protect, you train like a guardian. If your purpose is to teach, you study like your words will save lives. This is how regret gets burned into legacy. You become a person whose life is so driven, so principled, so locked in, that the memory of who you used to be becomes a fuel cell for who you are becoming. Every single day. Step 5. Let the world see the transformation. At some point, you must stop hiding the fact that you've suffered. You must stop pretending your pain doesn't exist. Why? Because the world is starving for truth, for realness, for someone who hasn't forgotten the fire, but learned to walk through it. Let them see you, not perfect, not healed beyond recognition. Let them see your scars. Let them hear your story. Let them feel your purpose. You don't have to be polished. You just have to be authentic and relentless. People don't need another self-help guru. They need you. The version of you that knows darkness, yet still chooses light. The one who took the weight of their mistakes and forged it into something sacred. That's what makes you rare. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes your pain matter. Summary of Strategy 5. Convert pain into purpose. Step outside yourself. Regret is selfish until it's sacrificed for something greater. Find the message in your suffering. There's a lesson only you can teach because you lived it. Create systems of contribution. Use your pain to build, teach, serve, and impact. Let your purpose govern your identity. Make every decision align with your why. Let your scars be seen. The world needs your truth, not your mask. You were not chosen to suffer. You were chosen to use your suffering, to carry it, to convert it, to transmit it into a force the world cannot ignore. This is your final transformation. You are no longer the one who regrets. You are the one who redeems, and that makes you unstoppable. Now go. Burn for something. Build for someone. And walk like your pain has a purpose it refuses to waste. To our returning GrimFace warriors, thank you. You keep marching. You keep rising. You keep proving that pain isn't the end. It's the ignition. You are the proof that we can carry scars and still stand taller than those who never bled. You are the movement. And to those who just discovered this message, welcome. This isn't motivation for the masses. This is fuel for the few, for the ones who've tasted failure, swallowed regret, and still chose to sharpen their edge. If this fire spoke to something inside you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to the GrimFace movement. Join a legion of warriors who don't chase comfort. We forge character. We don't run from darkness. We train in it. Because around here, we don't forget the past. We burn it for power. Now rise and march forward.